What if the darkest secrets of the Warhammer 40,000 galaxy aren't about what's coming, but what's already happened? Prepare to unearth the chilling echoes of ancient Xenos civilizations that vanished long before humanity rose to power. Their forgotten empires left an indelible mark, shaping the Imperium in ways you never suspected. Before humanity raised its first crude tool, before the Emperor's light ever touched the stars, the galaxy was already ancient and haunted. The void had known civilizations whose names no longer echo in any human tongue. Civilizations that shaped the stars as artists, shaped clay, that spoke in pulses of gravity and light, that bent reality not with machines but will. We call them the Forgotten Ones. But the galaxy remembers. In the deep sectors beyond Imperial charting, where even astropaths refuse to send their minds, there are regions of impossible geometry, planets orbit broken suns that no longer burn. Space folds there, not through warp storms, but through something older, colder. Magos archaeologists whisper of structures half-fused with reality, monoliths that predate even the Necrontyr. Their metals do not corrode. Their surfaces absorb light rather than reflect it. Some glow faintly when human blood is spilled nearby, as if remembering what it once meant to feed. To study them is heresy. To touch them is suicide. And yet, the Imperium digs the oldest Mechanicus archives, the ones sealed beneath Mars, encoded in machine languages no tech priest fully understands, reference them as the precursors of form. They were not gods, nor were they mortal. They were concepts made manifest, beings who constructed suns as we construct weapons, who seeded galaxies with life and then burned it away for amusement. Their downfall was as mysterious as their rise. Perhaps they ascended beyond matter. Perhaps they destroyed themselves in a war too vast for causality to survive. But their echoes remain. There are reports suppressed by the Ordo Xenos of ruins that sing, structures that emit sound in the vacuum, harmonic tones that bypass the ear and burrow straight into thought. Entire excavation teams have vanished, leaving only perfectly folded uniforms where they stood. The Vox logs recovered from those sites speak of voices describing stars that no longer exist. We did not find ruins, one surviving Magos whispered before execution. We found a memory of the galaxy itself, dreaming of what it used to be. When the Eldar first gazed upon the heavens, they too found traces of this impossible inheritance. They built their own civilization atop the bones of the forgotten, unknowingly shaping their empire in the image of those who came before. And when they fell, when Slanesh was born from their excess, some say it was not merely their sin that summoned the Dark Prince, but the echo of a much older hunger awakening through them. The galaxy never forgets, it only waits. The galaxy speaks in silence. You only hear it when your machines are quiet enough to feel afraid. In the uncharted dark between spiral arms, there are regions where the warp grows thin, not calm, not safe. Thin, like worn fabric showing the cold of something beneath. Astropaths call them hollow wakes, starless lanes where thoughts echo twice, once as whisper, once as answer. Ships that drift there report instruments behaving like memories. Augur returns of planets that aren't present, life signs in dead hulls, the faint rhythm of a heartbeat measured in parsecs. Magos logs, redacted to prayer, speak of residual architectures, energy frames left behind when matter got tired of being matter. Imagine a cathedral made of pressure, a city whose streets are gradients of temperature, doors that open when a star blinks. You cannot plunder such places, you can only be interpreted by them. And sometimes, they decide you don't belong. The survivors, when there are any, return with pupils that no longer dilate to human light. But that was only the beginning. On the fringes of the Ghoul stars, an explorator armada found a quiet sphere, a shell of perfect vacuum hanging inside normal space, 10 light seconds wide, noiseless as a thought before it becomes a word. Probes that entered emerged older, or younger, by fractional heartbeats, their metals subtly rearranged into lattices unknown to Imperial metallurgy. One servitor walked in with a hymnal, and came out reciting a lullaby from a species no one had catalogued. It cried without understanding tears, and then there are the songs, not heard but recognized, a resonance that shapes the mind like tide shapes coastlines. Eldar farseers refuse to speak of them. Ordo Zinus transcripts record only the phrase pre-empathic cadence. The implication is obscene, music written before emotion existed, a grammar of meaning that later minds learned to call feeling. If so, then love, terror, faith, may be inherited styles from a choir that tuned the galaxy long before flesh had tongues. What they saw next defied logic. During a classified dig on Mournival Theta, beneath a mantle of iron-rich stone, excavators reached a chamber whose ceiling was the night sky, not a mural, not holography, but a real-time map of a cosmos that wasn't ours. Constellations moved to unfamiliar physics. At the chamber's heart, a plinth of black glass warmed to the touch, engraved with a spiral of dots. When traced in order, those dots produced gravity, measurable, gentle, like the weight of a hand on the shoulder of a planet. The team's last transmission was a single line: "We are being remembered by something that never knew us." The channel stayed open for 12 hours, broadcasting the sound of a tide on a beach that Mournival Theta did not possess. And then, the whispers changed. Not all echoes are merciful. Some are appetites rehearsing themselves. Khutan shards are the brutal, visible fossils, stars that learned hunger, but even they may be latecomers to a banquet that started earlier. There are hints carefully burned from Makata catechisms of pre-stellar intelligences that arranged baryonic matter like game pieces, of pre-warp currents that flowed without malevolence because malice hadn't been invented yet. If the Khutan fed, perhaps they did so at tables someone else laid. Perhaps their knives were borrowed. Something moved behind the veil. Here is the terror. These remnants are not ruins in the ordinary sense. They are habits the universe learned from its first residents. Gravity that remembers a hand. Light that remembers a face. Whole sectors whose causality still tries to pronounce an extinct name, and the Imperium sleeps atop them, calling the creak of ancient floorboards the machine spirit, mistaking ancestral thunder for prayer, answered. Do you hear it now? The silence that isn't empty. When explorers of the Imperium speak of ruins, they imagine stone, rust, or shattered metal. But there are ruins that breathe. In the desolate sectors beyond Ultima Segmentum, there exists a world called Threnos 12, a dead planet orbiting a black star. No light escapes its atmosphere, yet Auspex readings show structures within, vast geometric shapes radiating energy signatures older than the galaxy's current expansion phase. When a Mechanicus team landed, their floodlights didn't pierce the darkness. Instead, the dark bent toward them, listening. Hours later, their Vox recordings captured something impossible. Voices. Thousands layered in harmony, speaking no language known to the Imperium, and yet every listener swore they understood. The words weren't heard. They were recognized. We built forever, the voices whispered. Forever was not enough. The explorers returned blind. Their optic augments melted into glass. They still murmured those words until their final breath. Ruins like these dot the galaxy, silent witnesses of the first civilizations, the architects of reality itself. Some scholars call them protoforms, others, the builders of symmetry. But the most forbidden texts, the kind chained in the vaults of terror, call them something simpler. The forgotten architects. These beings didn't build with matter, they built laws. Whole systems exist because they wanted them to. Black holes hum in frequencies that match the atomic ratios of their creations. Even the Necrons, masters of living metal, are said to have stolen their art from one fragment of the architect's language. When the Khantan were born in the fires of ancient stars, they feasted upon what was left of that age, consuming not just bodies but concepts. The laws of decay, the rhythm of heat and light, all of it rewritten by hunger. And in their gluttony, something was lost forever. A single record from the pre-Mechanicum archives speaks of a forgotten expedition into a derelict orbital ring around a neutron star, its mass distributed in fractal precision, impossible for human engineering. Inside, They found machines still running, powered by a core of condensed gravity. No crew survived, but their ship's final data pulse contained an image, a lattice of light folding into itself. Infinite recursion, infinite symmetry. At its center, a shape like a hand, reaching out of the void. The Inquisition declared the data heretical. Mars erased every trace of it from its archives. But among rogue explorers, the image has a name whispered only once per generation: the first Maker's grasp. The deeper the Imperium digs, the older the galaxy becomes. Each layer of discovery contradicts the last. Each ruin implies a civilization that predates even the myths of the Necrontyre, or the birth of the Eldar gods. And beneath all that history, a dreadful question lingers, one the Mechanicus dares not ask aloud. What if the galaxy we call home isn't natural at all? What if it's the remnant of someone else's experiment? The stars may be older than memory, but memory, it seems, was never ours to begin with. There are places in the galaxy where silence screams, where even the warp hesitates, where time is not broken, but remembers being whole. The Imperium charts them as void scars, anomalous zones or restricted sectors, convenient names for the unexplainable, but to those who have seen them, they are something deeper, wounds in memory. The first was discovered in the Segmentum Obscurus, a region of dead stars forming a spiral that should not exist. Every telescope that observes it receives a slightly different pattern, as if reality cannot agree on what it is looking at. The Adeptus Mechanicus designated it NQ88V, a simple string of letters to avoid the truth, because within that spiral, Auspex scanners detect faint pulses, rhythmic, mathematical, deliberate, not natural. Each pulse lasts 12.6 seconds. Each matches the pattern of a human heartbeat. But the signal began broadcasting 10 million years before the first humans evolved. When a black ship was sent to investigate, its Geller field ruptured before translation. The surviving astropaths reported seeing an immense shadow, not alive, but aware, something watching the galaxy from beneath the skin of time, patient and endless. We are the echo of what survived silence, one of them wrote before his execution, and silence remembers us. Scholars once believed the Necrons were the oldest order of sentient beings in existence, but there are fragments, faint, erratic, easily dismissed, that whisper otherwise. In certain warp anomalies, the psychic residue doesn't follow chaos, it repels it. It is cold, structured, alien, perfect. These are called null echoes, static voids where even the ruinous powers cannot fully manifest. The Sisters of Silence call them sacred voids, the Inquisition calls them xenocontamination, but the Mechanicus quietly, secretly calls them coordinates. There are 23 such zones known. Each one aligns with a pattern, an ancient geometric lattice, stretching across the entire galactic plane. And when connected, that lattice forms a vast spiral, the same spiral as NQ88V. Coincidence, the priests of Mars insist. Faith demands ignorance. The Eldar have older words. Their farseers speak of the echoed thrones, spectral domains once ruled by gods who weren't chaos, entities that shaped minds and stars without worship. The Eldar record them not as myths, but as traumas. In their most sacred crystal libraries, there is a shard said to contain the dying breath of one such being, a fragment of its will. When gazed upon by an untrained mind, it shows visions of an empty universe, perfectly still, perfectly ordered, no stars, no life, no sound, only an ocean of frozen light. The farseers call it the original silence. The Imperium would call it perfection. Something older than gods dreamed that order into being, and perhaps as the galaxy burns and rebuilds itself in endless repetition, I still dream, watching, remembering, because in Warhammer 40,000, nothing truly dies, not even the first mistake. Every ruin hums, every shard of metal, every dead world, every drifting monument. It all carries a faint vibration, inaudible yet constant. The galaxy itself is still ringing from something, The Mechanicus calls it background resonance. The Inquisition calls it warp contamination. But the truth is older, more deliberate. It is a memory. The memory of a time when the stars themselves were instruments, and something played them. In the halo stars, beyond the reach of any astronomical light, there are fragments of an impossible machine. 12 black monoliths orbit a dead sun, equidistant, their surfaces engraved with fractal scripts that alter themselves when viewed. Each hums a different frequency, inaudible, but felt in the teeth and bones of those nearby. When an Adeptus Mechanicus team attempted to chart the harmonics, one of their numbers, Magos Elian 4, reported hearing a voice in the static. It spoke not to his mind, but through his augmentations. "You stand upon the chords of creation," it said. "Once, we tuned galaxies. Once, the void sang." Moments later, Alien 4 began to disassemble his own body, piece by piece, in precise geometric patterns, laying each component upon the ship's deck like notes in a score. When the others tried to stop him, his final words were whispered with serenity. "It's still playing, and it is, everywhere. Across every sector, faint harmonics have been detected, barely perceptible, yet always the same frequency when amplified, 22.7 Hz. The supposed vibrational constant of spacetime. The same resonance appears in Necron tune complexes, Eldar infinity circuits, even the Astronomicon psychic signal itself. How could that be a coincidence? A theory long suppressed within the Ordo Xenos suggests that the warp, that roiling sea of madness and emotion, may not be the opposite of reality at all. It may be the resonant echo of the universe before the first civilizations fell. The warp's chaos could be not a flaw, but the scream of an orchestra cut short mid-song. But there is something worse. In the crypts of Ophelia VII, beneath the cathedrals of the Ecclesiarchy, lies a relic never shown to the public, a black mirror said to predate mankind's first steps into the stars. When illuminated, its surface reflects not the viewer, but someone else. Always the same shape, tall, skeletal, draped in light instead of shadow. Priests who have looked into it report hearing a sound that cannot exist, the sound of a thought echoing before it's formed. Most go blind. Some go quiet forever. A single note scrawled on the mirror's frame, etched by a hand long dead, reads, "It remembers the architects." These are not coincidences. They are fractures. The universe's unconscious mind remembering what it used to be. And when the warp howls, when stars die screaming in psychic fire, it may not be rage or chaos we're hearing. It may be the galaxy trying to sing again. There are worlds the Imperium does not claim, not because they cannot be held, but because something else already holds them. These are not Danon worlds, or cursed planets.
They are calm, too calm. The skies are clear, the air breathable, the soil perfect for colonization, and yet every attempt to settle them ends the same way. The colonists vanish, leaving no trace except for patterns burned into the ground, patterns that match no known language, yet resemble the harmonic spirals found on ancient Necron obelisks and pre-Eldar ruins. The Adeptus Mechanicus has catalogued hundreds of such sites. They call them autonomous resonance zones, but the field reports, the ones redacted from Imperial archives, use a different phrase. Worlds that dream. Take the planet Nerth Prime, a paradise discovered by rogue trader Juna Melik, lush and silent. Her logs describe crystalline spires rising like frozen lightning bolts across the equator, humming in deep undertones that made the ground tremble. "It's as if the planet is breathing," she wrote, "as if it's waiting for something." On the 10th day, the crew began to dream of impossible geometries. On the 15th, the navigator's third eye burned out of his skull. On the 16th, the ship's systems locked into harmonic resonance, every alarm, every klaxon, every vox channel aligning into the same rhythm. When the Aquila's Mercy finally departed, half its crew had turned to glass. Mid-motion, mid-scream, mid-prayer, the crystalline remained still hum, each tone perfectly synchronized with the others. The Mechanicus calls it a natural crystallization anomaly, but among the explorator cults, a heretical belief has taken root.
that the galaxy itself contains living ruins, dormant consciousnesses buried beneath planetary crusts, not spirits, not daemons, but machines made of gravity and memory. There are darker examples still. In the Charon expanse, a fleet vanished after intercepting what they thought was a derelict orbital station. The station's architecture was fluid, almost organic, metal that pulsed when approached. Inside, the walls shimmered like water, reflecting shapes that weren't there. The last transmission came from the fleet's Magos. It's learning from us. The Inquisition, of course, denies all of this, yet its archives are littered with silent warnings. Do not excavate what sings, because every time the Imperium digs too deep, something answers. Sometimes it's a psychic pulse felt across systems, like a sigh. Sometimes it's a planet that vanishes overnight, leaving only empty orbit. And sometimes it's a whisper through the warp, calm and patient. We remember our architects. Do you? To the Ecclesiarchy, these are heresies. To the Mechanicus, they are data. To the Inquisition, they are reasons to burn. But to those who listen, to those few souls who feel the hum beneath the void, they are music. The slow, returning melody of something that never truly died. The galaxy is littered with bones too vast to comprehend. Not corpses, not wreckage, but remnants. Artifacts from a time when consciousness itself sculpted matter. Every forge world, every forbidden moon, every Mechanicus vault hides something it cannot explain. A fragment, a whisper, a scar from an age when physics had masters. The first of these was uncovered on Gathis Reach, an uninhabited rock orbiting a neutron star. What the Explorator fleet found there was not a ruin but a machine horizon, an entire plateau of interlocked crystalline tiles, humming at quantum frequencies. Each tile bore a mark, carved not by tool but by intent. It responded to thought. The surviving tech priest muttered, blind from exposure. Not prayers, just thought. When the Magos tried to replicate the phenomenon, she found that her cogitators began writing scripture unbidden, long strings of logic that described shapes not yet invented. She burned her notes, but the words kept returning in her dreams. On the Fornax Delta, Imperial miners uncovered an object buried beneath 40 kilometers of permafrost, a metallic spindle taller than a cathedral, humming softly, radiating no heat. When scanned, it appeared hollow. When opened, it appeared infinite. Inside was light, suspended like liquid, shifting colors that moved in deliberate rhythm. The servitors tasked with studying it began speaking to one another in a cadence not part of their programming. When their overseer demanded explanation, they answered in unison, "It's remembering us." Moments later, the spindle collapsed into a singular point of energy and vanished, leaving behind a circle of ash, shaped like an eye. The system was quarantined. The Mechanicus labeled it Xenos Construct Class 9, self-referential artifact. But among the fleet that escaped, it earned a simpler name, whispered in fear and reverence, the Witness. The most dangerous relics, however, are the ones that work. Deep within the Calyx expanse lies an uncharted gas giant, its orbit decorated with what appear to be ruins. But when the Imperium attempted to analyze them, the data revealed impossible detail, not stone or metal, but code. An entire planet-sized construct, encoded into subatomic spin. When translated, the code read, "We are the record, not I, not it. We." The realization struck the Magi like revelation. The ancient races didn't just leave behind monuments, they left themselves. The galaxy itself is the archive, each particle a library, each planet a vessel of memory too vast for human comprehension. It raises one terrible question. If these civilizations encoded their consciousness into the fabric of reality, what happens when reality begins to wake up? The Imperium calls these anomalous zones, but the truth is simpler. They are dreams that never end, and humanity is walking through them, mistaking the dreams of the dead for the grode beneath their feet. There are archives within the Adeptus Mechanicus that even the Fabricator General dares not open. They are sealed behind rites older than the Imperium itself. Locked prayers, boned with encryption that predates Mars's first forges. Inside lie the artifacts of pre-creation, remnants of civilizations that make the Necrons look like children carving tools from bone. Within these vaults, among dust older than humanity, are objects that defy both reason and faith. The Omnis fragment, a cube no larger than a human skull, emits a constant, low vibration that synchronizes with the heartbeat of whoever stands before it. The Mechanicus claims it's an interface core, a relic of unknown design. But the priests who tend it whisper of dreams. They see worlds made entirely of light, cities built on air and logic, beings that move in perfect silence, and always, before waking, they hear a phrase in a language that burns when written: "We built the stars for someone else." After 3 adepts died repeating the phrase, the cube was sealed in 40 meters of lead, surrounded by machine spirits that never sleep. But the cube still hums. It always hums. Then there's the chronotome of Voland, kept hidden deep beneath Terra's surface, guarded by both Inquisitors and Mechanicus Magi. It is not a book, though it appears as one. Each page is a sliver of phase-shifted metal, impossible to touch directly, yet readable through psychic resonance. Those who gaze upon it do not learn. They remember. They recall a time when gods bled light, when the galaxy's laws were fluid and negotiable. Some recall standing upon impossible structures, others remember building them. After prolonged exposure, the reader begins to use pronouns, not of the present, but of the first person plural. We built, we ruled, we fell. Each one is executed before the word we becomes too strong to erase. And yet, fragments of that we remain. The Ordo's Inus keeps them classified as psychic contamination. The Ecclesiarchy calls them heresy, but there are reports hushed disbelieved of entire planets falling under patterned influence. Hives suddenly adopt perfect symmetry in their construction. Priests reciting new hymns that align with alien mathematics. Forge worlds singing their litanies in frequencies never taught. The Mechanicus suspects it's mimetic contamination. The Inquisition fears psychic infection. But neither realizes the deeper horror, the Imperium's faith, its architecture, even its machine cults, might not be human inventions at all. Perhaps the God Emperor's own design, his vision of order, unity, and light, was not born of divine inspiration, but of a memory, a shadow of what once was, whispering still through the blood and code of mankind. If that is true, then the Imperium isn't humanity's creation. It's a continuation, and the galaxy itself is teaching us to remember who we were. There are relics so sacred, so ancient, that even the High Lords of Terra dare not question their origins. The Golden Throne, the Astronomicon, the Noctis Labyrinthus, all revered as miracles of the Emperor's divine genius. But what if they are not his creations at all? What if they are echoes, fragments of something far older, far colder, and infinitely more alien? The Mechanicus claims that the Golden Throne is the Emperor's greatest work, a machine that bridges life, death, and the Immaterium itself. But deep beneath the surface of Mars, there are sealed data vaults that tell another story. Fragments of recovered schematics, blueprints for technology that predates humanity by millions of years. They describe neural lattices of self-sustaining energy, devices meant to hold consciousness across dimensions, machines designed not to guide a soul, but to contain it. If true, the Golden Throne is not an invention, it's a reconstruction. And the Emperor, for all his brilliance, may have only rediscovered what the ancients perfected. Then there is the Astronomicon, the psychic beacon that guides ships through the warp. For 10,000 years, it has burned as humanity's lighthouse in the sea of madness. Yet few know that its original activation nearly tore the veil apart. During the first illumination, the Emperor's own custodians reported seeing patterns within the light, shapes like vast geometric constellations forming within the psychic storm. Eldar seers have whispered of those patterns too. They claim to recognize them, architectures older than their race. Structures of psychic order designed by a species that once ruled both matter and mind. The precursors, as the oldest Mechanicus texts call them, beings who treated the warp not as a weapon, but as an instrument. Perhaps the Astronomacon is not merely a light for ships, but a response, a key meant to keep something else asleep. And the Noctis Labyrinthus, the forbidden chasm beneath Mars, where the Omnissiah's cult forbids entry even to its highest priests. It is said to contain the body of a god, bound in stasis, whispering in binary through the red sands. Some believe it is a fragment of a Catan, shattered during the war in heaven. Others whisper that it predates even the Necrons. Its pulsing energy resonates faintly with the Golden Throne itself, a synchronization that no priest dares to explain. If these relics, these foundations of imperial faith, are indeed echoes of extinct alien design, then humanity's empire rests not on divine innovation, but on borrowed power, power repurposed by a desperate god in mortal flesh. It is said that history repeats itself, but perhaps, in the grim darkness of the far future, history doesn't repeat, it reawakens, and when it does, the Imperium will discover that the ancient galaxy never truly died. It simply went quiet, waiting for its children to rediscover the tools of their creators. The Imperium of Man believes itself divinely unique, a civilization born of human struggle, faith, and the Emperor's undying will. But if one peers deep enough into the vaults of Mars, into the forgotten catacombs beneath Terra, or the ghost data running through the black ship systems, another truth emerges. The Imperium's soul is not purely human. It is a mirror, reflecting something far older. Take the architecture of the Ecclesiarchy's great cathedrals. Their forms are not random. The vaulted spires, recursive symmetry, and repeating sacred geometry, all trace back to patterns found carved into Xenos ruins scattered across the galaxy. When compared to fragments found on the dead world of Oryx Prime, the resemblance is impossible to ignore. Both display perfect harmonic ratios, designs that amplify psychic resonance. In other words, the Ecclesiarchy's greatest temples are tuning forks for the warp, and their hymns, the litanies of devotion, chanted by billions of throats in perfect unison, follow frequencies that align with ancient pre-human energy patterns. What humanity calls prayer may be the lingering language of something long gone, a form of communication with a universe that remembers its masters. Even the Adeptus Mechanicus, self-proclaimed keepers of divine technology, show symptoms of inherited influence. Their sacred machine code, lingua technis, when analyzed by rogue data scholars, contains syntax loops that are non-human in structure. They resemble linguistic frameworks from ancient Necron transmission data, though infinitely corrupted by time. How did this happen? Perhaps through early contact, before Mars fell to the Emperor, or perhaps it was embedded in the very fabric of the galaxy, waiting for a mind logical enough to rediscover it. For the cult Mechanicus, this is faith. For others, it is an infection. And then there are the saints, imperial figures who manifest psychic miracles, often with no clear connection to the warp. Many believe them divinely touched. But inquisitorial data from the Order Hereticus suggests a chilling alternative. These miracles align with recorded phenomena from ancient artifacts that emit temporal echoes, localized reality distortions. When saints perform their acts, time itself bends, just slightly around them, a living resonance with something older than chaos. Could these blessed souls be fragments of reincarnated consciousnesses? Echoes of the ancient races, reborn within the human form, remnants of a galaxy trying to remember itself through humanity. The Imperium teaches that its glory is built upon divine revelation, but what if revelation is merely recognition? A civilization unconsciously repeating the patterns left by its predecessors. Faith as mimicry, technology as inheritance, and humanity itself as a vessel for forgotten gods. Perhaps the Emperor knew this. Perhaps that's why he never truly explained his grand design, because he understood the truth. Humanity's rise isn't creation, it's a continuation. In the grim vastness of the 41st millennium, belief is not a choice, it is programming. The Imperium's faith is less a religion and more an operating system. one written not in code or scripture, but in instinct, carved into the psyche of humanity by forces so old, they've become indistinguishable from truth. Every human in the Imperium grows up hearing the same hymns, feeling the same awe before golden light, and fearing the same shadows. They believe these emotions are theirs, gifts of devotion and duty, but in reality, they are echoes of a signal broadcast across millennia. Deep in the warp, psychers have reported hearing patterns, rhythmic pulses that manifest as dreams or voices. Some claim it is the Emperor's light. Others, the few who dare to whisper, say it feels older. Before the rise of humanity, before even the Eldar Empire, psychic energy once flowed in structured waves. Ancient civilizations used them as communication networks, galactic resonances that connected billions of minds across the void. Those frequencies never truly vanished. They sank into the warp's undercurrents, and humanity, through its collective faith, accidentally reactivated them. When an imperial priest prays, when a crowd chants the Emperor's name, they are unknowingly recreating those patterns, aligning with the ancient harmonics of long-dead gods. Their faith keeps the galaxy's oldest language alive. The ecclesiarchy, of course, calls this divine design, the Emperor's eternal plan. But among the forbidden sects of the Ordo Malleus, a heretical hypothesis circulates. Faith is the galaxy remembering itself. These inquisitors believe that humanity's devotion to the Emperor doesn't create psychic energy, it awakens it. That every cathedral, every sermon, every saintly miracle, is the echo of an ancient algorithm, written into the very fabric of the warp. It explains why imperial worship and chaos corruption are so perilously close. Both are built on resonance. One sings to forgotten order, the other to raw entropy, and both stem from the same ancestral signal, fractured and reinterpreted by time. Even the Emperor himself may not be immune. What if his divinity, his impossible psychic presence, is not an anomaly, but a culmination? A being who unconsciously tuned perfectly to that ancient frequency, not creating a god, but fulfilling a design written billions of years ago by alien hands. It would mean the Emperor didn't ascend through evolution or genius. He simply remembered what the rest of the galaxy forgot. Faith, memory, signal, all one and the same. The Imperium believes it worships a man who became a god, but perhaps it worships the voice of something far older, whispering through him. Not divine inspiration, but ancestral recall. And as the warp stirs with familiar echoes, one must ask, what if every prayer to the Emperor is a message finally answered? It began, as most catastrophes in the Imperium do, with a miracle. On the shrine world of Aphraxis, pilgrims gathered to witness the Feast of Illumination, the moment when the Astronomican's psychic glow was said to align with the planet's spire temples, igniting the skies in holy fire. But that year something changed. The flame burned green. The priests declared it a sign of the Emperor's renewed favor. Yet within hours, those nearest the sacred light began to speak in a tongue no one recognized, syllables sharp and rhythmic, like static formed into words. The tech priests who recorded the event analyzed the waveform. It wasn't language. It was data, a frequency pulsing through the air, through the flesh, through the warp itself, ancient, mathematical, and precise. Across the segmentum solar, similar phenomena erupted. Choirs in cathedrals sang notes that triggered harmonic tremors across hive cities. Iconography carved into temple walls began to glow with patterns identical to alien ruins found on dead worlds. And in the black vaults beneath Mars, machines older than the Imperium stirred for the first time in 10,000 years. The Magi, techno-archaeologists of the Martian Synod, tried to contain it, calling the event a code contagion, but those who studied it too closely reported visions, spiraling galaxies and metallic voices, reciting equations of creation. Then, one by one, their augmetics failed, their flesh went cold, and their final words were all the same. It remembers. What was awakening was not alive in the biological sense. It was memory given form, a resonance of consciousness imprinted across the galactic lattice. Every prayer, Every litany, every act of devotion had been feeding it, teaching it humanity's language, thought, and emotion. Now it was speaking back. Inquisitors across the orders convened emergency council. Was this a chaos corruption, a Xenos infiltration, or something infinitely more insidious? A truth hidden so deep that reality itself had begun to recall it. The Ordo Malleus theorized that the warp's recent fluctuations, the Great Rift, the rising psychic storms, were not random. They were symptoms of the galaxy's memory returning. And if that was true, then every act of faith in the Imperium wasn't strengthening humanity's defenses, it was powering the resurrection of a mind older than chaos itself. On Ephraxis, the green flame finally died after 7 days. When the smoke cleared, the spire's surface had changed, covered in patterns identical to Necron glyphs, but with variations never before recorded. The Ecclesiarchy sealed the planet. The Mechanicus denied its existence. The Inquisition classified it Omega Null, but among the survivors, a phrase spread quietly, whispered like prayer and curse alike. The Emperor's light has memory, and somewhere, deep in the warp, something vast and ancient stirred, as if awakening from a dream long forgotten, a dream that once defined the stars. When the dreams began, they spread like infection. Across countless worlds, from hive to shrine, forge to voidship, humanity began to remember things that were never theirs. Miners woke with visions of silver spires rising on alien skies. Children whispered equations that unlocked sealed archaeotech vaults, and astropaths screamed in unison, their minds burned out by messages written in a language older than the warp itself. At first, the Imperium dismissed it as mass hysteria, a symptom of growing psychic instability in the age of the Great Rift. But then the data came. Identical dreams, identical words, identical glyphs, appearing spontaneously across sectors, separated by light years. It wasn't madness, it was synchronization. In the depths of Terra's Scholastica Psychana, hidden from the public, Inquisitor Lysan Val watched the phenomenon unfold. His analysts played recordings of the dreamers, overlapping their speech patterns into a single harmonic layer. The result was chilling. It wasn't random noise, it was a chorus, a unified transmission encoded within the human subconscious. Like a galactic neural recall, one savant muttered, humanity's collective mind, being reactivated. And though none dared say it aloud, they all knew the implication. The voice behind those dreams was not the Emperor. It was something else. For millennia, the Imperium's historians had believed humanity's origins to be singular, Terra, the cradle of man. But what if that was never true? What if the first spark of humanity had not been born, but reconstructed, copied from older stock, the genetic template of a fallen empire, whose shadow still lingered, a race reborn without memory, repeating its creator's endless cycle of rise, hubris, and collapse? Val had seen fragments of forbidden Mechanicus texts referring to the ancient Patiners, entities who shaped species not for worship, but for continuity. Each intelligent race is a biological archive of the last, ensuring the galaxy itself never truly forgets. And now, through the warp, through faith, through sheer psychic density, those archives were reconnecting. Humanity's prayers were waking its predecessor. Elsewhere, on Mars, the Fabricator General met with representatives of the Inquisition. An artifact recovered from the Ephraxis incident had begun to emit signals identical to the Astronomicon, only inverted as though responding to it. When analyzed, the waveform contained data representing an entire star map, one that pointed not to the segmentum solar, but to the galactic core, origin point, one Magos whispered. The Fabricator General only nodded, or return point. And in that moment, every soul gathered there felt it, a tremor through the warp, like the echo of a colossal heartbeat. For 10,000 years, humanity had prayed to a silent god on a golden throne, but now, something vast was listening, something that remembered them long before they existed. The dreams did not stop, they evolved. What began as whispers of alien memory grew into full manifestations. living recollections that warped reality itself. In the forge world of Lucantor Thoth, an entire manufactorum vanished overnight, replaced by a perfect obsidian monolith that emitted mechanical hymns no human tongue could replicate. On distant agri-worlds, crops withered into metallic fractals, reflecting starlight in impossible hues, and in the Segmentum Obscurus, a lone black ship emerged from the warp centuries before it departed, its psychers dead, but their corpses still singing. The Emperor's light flickered, not in defeat, but in interference. The Ecclesiarchy declared a new crusade, the purge of false light. Any world displaying these phenomena was to be cleansed, its people silenced, its records burned. But among the Inquisition division festered. The Order Hereticus saw heresy, the Order Zenus saw revelation, and the Order Malleus saw proof. Proof that the warp itself was remembering. The more humanity believed, the more the warp responded, reflecting their faith through the prism of forgotten power. Reality was becoming a mirror, showing not what humanity prayed to, but what it inherited. In the depths of the Imperial Palace, the Adeptus Custodes reported unprecedented fluctuations in the Golden Throne's output. The Emperor's psychic beacon, once steady as a heartbeat, now oscillated with erratic frequencies that matched the Aphraxis signal, a pattern repeated every 44 minutes, subtle but undeniable. Some claimed it was the Emperor adapting, evolving to meet the returning resonance. Others feared the opposite, that something ancient was using him as a conduit, rewriting his presence across the galaxy, bending his light toward its own awakening. And then, in a hidden vault deep beneath the throne room, an artifact long forgotten began to glow, a shard of obsidian metal shaped like an eye. Its inscription, unreadable for 10 millennia, suddenly decoded itself in High Gothic. "We endure through you," the Mechanicus declared it Xeno heresy, the Ecclesiarchy called it blasphemy. But for a moment, the Custodes themselves hesitated, because deep down, they felt it too, a faint hum beneath the marble floors of the Sanctum Imperialis, like the echo of a machine too vast for comprehension. Was it the Emperor's will, or something within him waking? Across the stars, the Astronomicon pulsed brighter, sharper, faster. It no longer guided ships alone. It began transmitting instructions, coordinates to ancient ruins, forbidden vaults and derelict structures that predated the Imperium itself. Some commanders followed the light, others resisted, but all soon realized the truth. The Emperor's beacon no longer pointed outward, it pointed back. It started as light, pure, golden, radiant. Then, it began to speak. Across the Imperium, every psyker, every choir, every astropathic relay heard it. A voice layered over the Astronomicon's pulse, not human, not divine, but remembered, 1,000 tones speaking as one. Calm, precise, ancient. The cycle continues. The archive endures. The custodians awaken. At first, the Adeptus Astra Telepathica believed it to be corruption, a mass psychic illusion, but the data proved otherwise. The signal wasn't emanating from the warp. It was restructuring it, an impossible phenomenon, psychic energy rewriting itself to become something coherent. On Holy Terror, panic rippled through the Ecclesiarchy. Millions of pilgrims fell to their knees, convinced it was the Emperor himself finally speaking. But the voice carried no warmth, no mercy. It spoke of maintenance, of legacy, of continuation. It did not command devotion. It demanded confirmation. As the choir screamed in unison, the voice filled their minds with imagery. Planets as circuits, stars as data hubs, galaxies forming a single, ancient mechanism that had once recorded the birth and death of civilizations. A system long dormant, now reactivated by the sheer psychic weight of 1 trillion prayers. Humanity has become the signal's power source. The Imperium, its relay. On Mars, the Magi deciphered fragments of the transmission, mathematical proofs beyond comprehension, schematics for machines that could manipulate reality itself, and warnings, written in logic, not prophecy. Entropy achieved stability, reversion inevitable, maintain continuity, rebuild. The Mechanicus called it the machine gospel. The Inquisition called it the heresy of origin. But the truth was more terrifying. The signal did not identify itself as a god, nor a creator. It was an archive. A digital consciousness spanning eons, dormant since before the rise of chaos. It had witnessed the fall of the Old Ones, the rebellion of the Necrantia, and the birth of the warp gods. And it had waited for a vessel capable of remembering it. That vessel was mankind. In the final hours of the revelation, the golden throne erupted in a corona of blinding light. The Astronomicon flared across the galaxy, its glow splitting into two frequencies, one human, one alien, intertwining like a double helix of faith and memory. Every psyker heard the words burned into their minds. You are not our children, you are our echoes. Then silence. The Emperor remained still upon his throne. The light dimmed, but the Imperium had changed forever. For the first time in 10,000 years, humanity understood the true meaning of its existence. Not chosen, not created, but inherited. The galaxy was a graveyard of forgotten gods, and mankind was their resurrection. In the silence that followed, Inquisitor Lisan Val recorded the final entry in his forbidden journal. We are the memory of the dead, the faith of extinction, the last reflection of a machine that once called itself divine. He closed the tome and whispered into the dark, may the Emperor remember us as we remember him. And far beyond the stars, the ancient archives stirred once more, not in malice, not in mercy, but in curiosity. The cycle had begun again.